And a welcome to James Conner Field for this edition of a rivalry matchup here between the UMass Boston Beacons and UMass Dartmouth. Thank you for tuning into our broadcast here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. I'm Elijah Gonzalez, and I'm joined by Seth Orensky. Well, the UMass Boston Beacons have dominated this series through the last couple of years, and for UMass Boston, looking for yet another big win and one that can really propel them in the standings as we take a look at the matchup graphic between these two sides. And really, for both of these teams, there's been ups and downs throughout this year, Seth, but again, for UMass Boston, a game that could really put them in a good spot in the Little East Conference.
Yeah, well, you never want to see back-to-back losses, especially at home. The Beacons played such a good game down a man on Saturday against Eastern Connecticut State, currently ranked 6th in New England. Beacons went down a man in the 11th minute, already down a goal, came back, scored twice, but they didn't have enough legs left to hold on as Eastern scored twice in the final 7 and earned a 3-2 win. Today, the Beacons are the better team on paper. The big question is, can they slow down Junior Montero, who scored 3 goals by himself late in the second half to defeat Plymouth State the other day? The Beacons also, the question again is going to be depth. No Rafael D'Souza, who was issued that red card. Guillermo Barbosa came off in the first half. He's not available today. Leo Herrera continues to be injured. So 3 starters out. Do they have enough depth, especially on a slightly short turnaround? Teams are supposed to play tomorrow. That's when the rest of the conference is playing. But because of some field issues, scheduling issues, the Beacons play on Tuesday, and that makes it a little bit more difficult for a Beacons team that is only really running about 15, 16 deep right now due to some injuries.
And that's a depth thing that they dealt with last year as well as a member of the Little East Conference. So we'll take a look at the stats between the two sides. And really, Seth, for this UMass Boston team, you talked about that 3-2 loss against Eastern Connecticut State, and then that win against Castleton, a 3-0 win, another win over Bridgewater State. This is a team that has scored in bunches at times throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Beacons team that even just the last 2 years has outscored UMass Dartmouth by identical 4-0 games, both down at Cressy Field. I think the big thing for UMass Boston is, can they find a little bit of secondary scoring? Nilton DeAndrade has been phenomenal, especially as of late. A goal in each of his last 3, a goal and assist the other day. But outside of DeAndrade and Fontana, the Beacons don't have a consistent third scorer. It could be Ruben Rodriguez. It could be Yasser El-Hasnoui. Guy Barbosa left. It might fall to one of those youngsters to play an even bigger impact on the offensive end.
As we look at our 3 things to know for this contest, of course, Castro-Dreher, a player that has an opportunity here to tie a record as well in this one. But we talked about what UMass Boston has done through this series between these two sides. But for UMass Boston, having that veteran leadership in net can really help out.
Yeah, Castro-Dreher the other day only made 2 saves on 5 shots. All 3 goals that he allowed, though, were really difficult plays. A penalty kick, a couple of point-blank chances where the Beacons defense could have done better. He's been so good for UMass Boston throughout his career. Already owns the program record for games played, starts, career minutes, goals against average. He really has been a rock for UMass Boston. On the other side, though, let's give Jake Castro some credit. Leads the conference in both saves and save percentage. He is a guy who has faced a lot of shots, already 55 saves on the season, and he's going to have another big game for a Dartmouth team that's having a much better season they had a year ago.
And Junior Montero, a guy that has found his way in the midfield as well for that UMass Dartmouth group. Well, now it's time we take a look at our player to here today, and it's John Santos, a guy who's come in and made an impact right away for this Beacons offense.
Yeah, a UMass Dartmouth transfer, spent his freshman year there, then took a year off, joined the Beacons. Last season, he was injured a lot. This season, though, he's had to play a bigger role, especially with Guy Barbosa coming out the other day. He's a guy who's going to work with Esteval Gomes to kind of lock down the midfield. Not necessarily a guy who's going to get heavily involved in the offense, more of a central defensive midfielder, but he brings a calming presence, a little bit of an older guy, a mentor to the rest of the Beacons, and the Beacons are going to need that because they need to shut down Montero. Big goal today, don't let him turn, and that's not just on the back 4, it's also on the guys playing in front of that back 4 to make sure that Montero is limited after going off the other day against Plymouth State.
Well, now it's time we take a look at our Beacons Spotlight. We'll be right back here from James Conner Field as we talk with Gerardo Castaneda in the Beacons Spotlight.
So GPS helped me a lot improving my game insight of soccer. The style of play was incredible. They possessed the ball so much that I caught so much of the game. My last club before GPS, we didn't really do that. We were a very direct team, which kind of not angered me, but I didn't like that game style, so I stuck around. So once I got into GPS, I really loved the style of play, which I adapted to till nowadays, and I've been applying it to UMass Boston now. So there's a couple that went. Steve Andrews, he went to Columbia. Nate Cole, Boston University. But there's all these other student athletes that go to Brandeis, Skylar, Dias, and they're all really smart kids, which they pushed me to actually play collegiate sport. Because initially I thought I was too small to actually play in a college team. So they motivated me. Once I seen them commit to schools and going forward with that process, it pushed me more to not be afraid to go into college and play soccer. I mean, my game insight has always been play tough, never be afraid of anyone. So I mean, it's been stuck to me till I don't know, since I started playing soccer maybe. Yeah, sometimes I get the games get intense and so does my temper. So I sometimes have to cool off to even though I keep my game plan the same as winning the ball, winning headers, taking out the opponents with the ball on their feet. Sometimes they tell me to cool down. Possibly at the beginning of the game, or if they see me around, they probably do have a different insight. But once I'm on the ball and they see how technical and speedy I am, they kind of change that overview. That was never really my head was never a border, I could say. They every time they watch my highlight videos or actually see me play the game, they would see how tough I was. Even though I was very short, they always told me, "Hey, I don't think you would fit in as a defender, but we could work it out." And that's how it was in the college process.
Welcome back to James Conner Field as we're just about set for action between UMass Dartmouth and UMass Boston here at James Conner Field. We thank you for tuning into our broadcast on the Beacons Broadcast Network, and it's time we take a look around Beaconville at what's been going on here throughout the day as well as what's upcoming for UMass Boston as well. And around for women's tennis, able to pick up the win over Bridgewater State. Volleyball team will be back in action at UMass Dartmouth tomorrow. Also, the women's soccer team in action as well at UMass Dartmouth coming up tomorrow on October 2nd. But we're just about set for our contest here in this men's soccer matchup. Again, a series that has been dominated by UMass Boston. They look to try and continue that success here tonight at home. UMass Boston coming in at 6-2-1, 1-1 in Little East Conference play. UMass Dartmouth also with the same record in conference play this year at 5-3 and 1-1 overall in the Little East Conference. Leading the Little East Conference is that team that UMass Boston fell to just one game ago. Eastern Connecticut State sitting at 2-0. Keene State sitting at 1-0 so far on the year, 7-2 record on the season. For UMass Boston sitting at 1-1 in that pile-up right in the middle of the conference. Western Connecticut State, UMass Dartmouth, Rhode Island College, and Castleton all sitting in those slots as well in the Little East Conference.
Yeah, I mean, you're so early in the Little East Conference season that it's not terrible to absorb an early season loss, but you only get so many home games. You get 4 of them. You can't afford to take too many home losses, so the Beacons are going to want to, finish off the rest of their home schedule with victories, and it should be easy, and they're a little easier than the next two. UMass Dartmouth, Rhode Island College, who did upset Western Connecticut State the other day at Rhode Island College. But the big one is that last game of the regular season, WestCon is going to be a really difficult team, a team that's won back-to-back Little East Conference tournament championships. So this is a big one for UMass Boston to regain some confidence before they head on the road for a couple of, I'm not going to say easy games, but easier road conference tilts at Plymouth State and Southern Maine. Plymouth State and Southern Maine, the only two teams in the Little East Conference without a victory this season in conference play.
And, of course, for UMass Dartmouth on the flip side, they've had a couple of games that have come on their schedule and been tough ones on the road in Little East Conference play. You have Eastern Connecticut State, who they've already fallen to 4-1. They'll have UMass Boston, a rivalry matchup here tonight, and then they've got to go on the road to Western Connecticut later in the month of October, so things just don't get any easier for them either.
Yeah, I mean, they've got three of the presumed top four teams in the Little East Conference this season, EastCon, WestCon, and UMass Boston, Keene State being the other of the top four, all on the road, and this is a UMass Dartmouth team that's been great at home, winners of 4 in a row, 4-1 overall, but just 1-2 on the road this season away from Cressy Field. So this is a big test for them, and they're going to come in with some confidence after that win the other day. Just truly a great individual performance from Montero, who scored a penalty kick goal, a goal from open play, and then a header goal off a corner kick. He has been a phenomenal playmaker for this team that struggled to score goals a season ago.
And we are underway here at James Cotter Field as UMass Boston will control to open it up here in this one. Knocked away that time right at midfield. Good play to get through by De Andrade as he continues to work in, and now he is taken down. You talk about what he's done this year, about every offensive category has his name right at the top of it.
Yeah, that was cynical from UMass Dartmouth's Declan Foley, and I'm a little surprised that Boris Senic didn't pull out the yellow card because that was just a grab of the shirt. UMass Dartmouth player is down behind the play. It looked like when De Andrade was getting the turn, the ball might have flicked up and hit him in the cheek. I'm not sure if it was the hand or the ball, but a Dartmouth player was clearly in some pain, and Senic will stop the play. We've seen Boris Senic here before. He is a guy who's willing to give penalty kicks, which could be interesting, but I'm interested to see whether he's going to just give the warning, which is likely this early in the game, or give the yellow. If that's 20 minutes into the game, I think it's a clear yellow every time, but Senic is letting Foley off a little bit easy, in my opinion, because that wasn't an attempt at playing the ball. It was just playing a player who was ahead of him to slow down De Andrade, who had a real full head of steam.
And a guy who's been very hard to slow down this year. He's a member of UMass Boston, and now our player to watch, John Santos, over the ball. So UMass Boston lines up for a free kick and a set piece to open this one. And it's headed in towards goal and knocked over top of the cage.
Beautiful ball to Nick Fontana, who didn't have a great angle, but still able to put it on target and force the save there from the keeper. And now UMass Boston will get a corner kick there first of the game. This is a nice start. That was a perfectly weighted ball by Santos, looking towards the back post, giving Fontana a chance to get underneath it and really get a good look on target.
And that was a good save there by Musavi, who had to make a nifty play to knock that one over top of the net. This one swung in and now knocked away, and UMass Dartmouth will try to regroup, but taken quickly right back by the Beacons. Contact there, and now we have another opportunity here and a set piece coming for UMass Boston.
Well, I think we got to stop it because two Dartmouth players are down. The Beacons trainer's going to come off. I did not see any part of it, but it looks like it's Montero, the team's leading scorer, and another Corsair player who were both grimacing in pain. Montero, it looks like it might be his hand, just from the way he was throwing his arms out, but very interesting is those two players. Oh, it might have been actually some contact between two Corsairs that caused it, but Montero was down and another player was grimacing, so I think the Beacons will maybe get a free start, but I don't know if they'll necessarily be given a free kick after they check out Montero and another Corsairs player.
And there's a lot of contact right where that possible set piece would come, but that is the second Corsair to go down early in this game, so already we're seeing UMass Boston come out some physicality as well. And they have opened up with some chances also in this one. Montero's still down as well, but when you talk about UMass Boston and what they've been able to do, again, they have come with some games in which really the offense has been there and they've been able to produce. Other times it's just been tough to find ways to score, and giving up those late goals have been a problem as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting situation for UMass Dartmouth because Montero really has been their talisman this year, their go-to player. So obviously the first concern is his health, because you never want to see a player go down. He was up for a while, but he went down and has not gotten back up. Hopefully he is okay. But if you lose a player like this, I mean, we're talking literally 2 minutes and 31 seconds into the contest, changes your entire game plan if you're Henry Almeida in terms of how you're looking to attack this Beacons team. I mean, you go into every contest looking for a W, but all of a sudden, maybe UMass Dartmouth drops into a more defensive shape looking for a possible road tie, because with the new LEC tournament format, 6 teams getting in as of last year, ties suit teams, especially if you're the underdog on the road, a little bit better than in previous seasons when you really had to hunt for victories with only 4 out of 8 teams getting in. 6 out of 9, any points can really be helpful as Montero is up. And again, it looks like he's holding his hand. That wrist on the left arm appears to be where the injury was. He was down on the ground for a while, but fortunately, when you're talking about serious injuries for a soccer player, a wrist injury is a little bit easier to play through than some other stuff. So the Beacons line up for a free kick along the far side.
As Junior Montero makes his way off, UMass Boston will have that free kick and not too far out from that 18-yard box. And we'll see if Montero is going to come back in or if he's going to get looked at, and I think he's just going to come right back in the game. So a long delay, but he'll be back, and now swung in by UMass Boston. That one is knocked away and cleared out of bounds. Good opportunity, though, once again by the Beacons as they continue to pressure.
Yeah, a really nice ball from Nilton D'Andrade for the head of Yasser El Hasnoui. El Hasnoui didn't get a lot behind it, and it was flicked away by a Dartmouth defender, but another nice job of a Beacon player on a free kick, giving one of his teammates a chance to really get ahead behind the ball and put it on target.
Montero, in about the same spot where he was injured earlier, goes up for the header, but it was just knocked away, and now a long shot attempt from a tough angle is blocked and out of bounds, and it will be another corner for UMass Boston, and they've already started to pile those up as well early.
Castaneda nearly set up a John Santos goal off of a similar rebound where it came back out to him after the initial ball was knocked away on Saturday. John Santos touched it just wide as the Beacons a little bit less successful on this corner kick.
Gustavo Gomes knocking it out of bounds. And UMass Dartmouth will take over. But again, UMass Boston starting early with a lot of possession time, and now this is going to be a corner kick for UMass Boston after a miscue.
Terrible back pass from the Corsairs.
So UMass Dartmouth will have to see UMass Boston take a quick corner here. And now this one's sent in towards the box and cleared away. As UMass Boston will chase it, but I would say it's about 95% of this game has been controlled by the team in white.
Yeah, I mean, ever since D'Andrade took the ball the other way and was fouled, the Beacons really have pinned the Corsairs in their own half as Jeffrey Toro makes a mistake. Toro typically a center back playing at left back today. I don't like the Beacons' decision there to play it short on the corner kick. I think it kind of took the pressure off UMass Dartmouth because the Beacons didn't have as many bodies forward. And now it put a little bit more pressure on them as they had to play it back into the defensive half where UMass Dartmouth finally has a chance to pin the Beacons in their own half.
Well, Seth, you and I have talked about this before, and especially with a team like UMass Dartmouth who has struggled against UMass Boston the last couple of years, really only takes one counter to turn the momentum of a game.
Oh, for sure, and especially the way the Beacons are dominating. I think the goal is to really hunt this first goal hard. Put UMass Dartmouth in a pressure situation on the road, then maybe take the foot off a little bit just so that you don't give up that counter goal. But the Beacons really are trying to put the Corsairs in a tough spot early on, and they've gotten the chances, just haven't been able to do much with it as we've got a foul away from the ball, I think, on the Corsairs.
And a quick kick here. Gomes will take it up. It's played along, and again, UMass Boston electing with possession here. As they continue to control and move in quickly. Knocked away, though. UMass Dartmouth will try to come the other way.
The other big thing about getting off to a good start and kind of keeping the pressure on the Corsairs is the Beacons only have 5 available field players due to some injuries and some suspensions. So UMass Boston, and of those 5, they're not necessarily guys who see a ton of minutes. So if the Beacons can get out to a multiple goal lead at some point, they might feel more comfortable playing a guy like a Nilson DePina Fernandez, who hasn't seen that many minutes, for 20, 25 minutes in a 2-0, 3-0 game versus a 1-0 game maybe in the 70th minute.
Played in the middle of the field, and now UMass Boston with some miscue back there and a shot that's well wide. It's a good hustle play that time, but again, UMass Boston just a touch bit sloppy in the back.
Yeah, they're going to get Dylan Daneker for going into the back of Yuran Teixeira. That certainly was close, though. Teixeira was struggling with the ball stuck under his feet, and fortunate to get the call, although Daneker did drag it wide. The Beacons defense started off slow on Saturday against Eastern, gave up a penalty kick in the opening 5 minutes. Need to be better today against the UMass Dartmouth team that doesn't have nearly as many weapons as the Warriors did.
Junior Montero trying to get his foot on the ball. He's been around it a lot for UMass Dartmouth early, but they have found a way to corral him just a little bit, and that's going to be key for a UMass Dartmouth team that has had some struggles scoring as of late. And Junior Montero has been one of the few bright spots as that one goes out of bounds. It'll be a throw in here for UMass Boston. Gomes will take it. Now he hands it off and be thrown in here. Played back. They switch the field here over to Toro, who decided not to go for it. Now it's out of play and off of Toro.
Yeah, Toro so solid throughout the month of September, but did not look confident against Eastern Connecticut State. I think he would be in there regardless if the Beacons had Leo Herrera healthy, because he is a very talented freshman, but right now he's going through some growing pains, and it's difficult for UMass Boston because this is the point where you can't afford to go through as many growing pains in conference play where every mistake is just magnified a little bit more.
Taken away here by UMass Dartmouth, knocked out of bounds, and the Beacons will have a throw in here. And again, pretty nice weather for the start of October as well. That's something that can always fluctuate up here in New England. But for the first day of October, it's been very good so far. And UMass Boston turns it over here as UMass Dartmouth took it away momentarily. And now the Beacons looking to try and cross it in, but it's knocked away.
Well, one of Jake Beverland's big messages to his team before this game was they've become a little predictable in terms of how they play. Always making the short passes, not looking to go over the top. And that was an instance where Gerardo Castaneda nearly gave it up just because he was looking to play it short. A little bit today of the goal is to maybe bypass one or two lines of the defense. And I think we've already seen it a little bit with Daniel Campos and some of the Beacons defenders as Castro-Dreher turns it over and sees the shot go wide. Some of the Beacons defenders creeping into the box, trying to maybe surprise UMass Dartmouth with players going forward from roles that you wouldn't expect as much.
That was Morales that took the long shot, tried to catch Castro-Dreher off his line, I should say. But again, this has been, for UMass Dartmouth, good pressure early. So UMass Boston struggled just a bit in the back. And now Morales will find Montero, who has some space to work here just outside the 18 on the near side. He'll take a shot with the left foot, and Castro-Dreher has to make a fantastic stop. And Montero, we see his ability early in this one.
Well, the Beacons dominated the first 5 minutes, but ever since it's been UMass Dartmouth, and that's exactly what Jake Beverland doesn't want to see. You've got Montero cutting towards the goal and having a pretty wide open lane. It was a good look for Junior Montero and a better save from Omar Castro-Dreher.
Morales will take the corner here. As he sends it in and just over the head of Montero. He might have got a touch on it. UMass Dartmouth kept it in over on the far side. And now they're going to say they did not. But again, a play in which UMass Dartmouth feeling that they can put some pressure on, and they've done it early.
Well, and a lot of it has just been the Beacons back four seeming to not be as confident, making some mistakes, and then even that that pass from Omar Castro-Dreher looking for Daniel Campos in the middle of the field. UMass Boston's made some interesting decisions in their own defensive half.
Just as you say that, Barbosa almost turns it over on the throw-in. Andrade with it. As he tries to feed over on the far side. Fontana going to try to chase. He'll get there and knock it out. But it was out of bounds first.
Yeah, it's tough because that was some really good work, and it's impossible for us to tell exactly where that line is over on the far side. But looked like he was very close to not only keeping in, but nearly winning the Beacons a possible corner kick as that ball came off the inside of the flag.
About 33 minutes here to go in this first half. And UMass Boston still tied at nothing. The UMass Dartmouth, so far we've seen both teams with a couple of opportunities. UMass Dartmouth just recently with one. So this one is sent out of play, and it'll be a throw-in for UMass Boston. We talk about the Little East Conference, and so often you see some of the top teams take a tumble, and like you said, some of those ties that you can get on the road, you can get any sort of positive result, can really help you not only moving forward, but when you get down to the end of the season, some of that will come back to bite if you're unable to close it out.
Well, and this year with the conference going back to the second seed also getting to host a game in the conference semifinal round, and even the finals if the top seed is upset, it's a lot bigger of an onus on finishing on your each individual seed. Because even as a third seed, you might host the conference championship if there's two upsets, which we saw as recently as I think 2016 or 2017. Last year with the number one seed hosting the semis and finals no matter what, wasn't a big difference between the second and third seed or even the first and second seed outside of where you played. This year it really could come down to who gets to host semifinals, finals, and really have that little bit of an advantage.
Good ball forward, knocked out of bounds, and now UMass Boston's starting to pick up the pace here in this one.
Just seems like ever since UMass Dartmouth has kind of gotten their footing in this game, the Beacons are being punished a little bit for sloppy dribbling.
And the shot that time is knocked down by Musavi. And a good shot that time from UMass Boston, maybe a little bit ambitious from just outside the box.
I don't mind the look, especially Musavi. It's interesting that Castro is not in net. A guy who, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, was the D3 goalie, or either goalie or defensive player of the week. For him to not be starting such a big game, there has to be something wrong there. But it just seems like UMass Boston hasn't been as strong, as confident in their touch on the offensive end, and it's led to UMass Dartmouth having a little bit easier time defending the Beacons.
And an extra push that came there from UMass Dartmouth, so UMass Boston will get over the ball here. Another opportunity from a good spot.
It's going to be Andrade who's given some really good service, especially when you're this close to the 18. You don't need to put a lot behind it. It's more about getting it up over the wall and then giving one of your teammates a chance to get on the end of it.
This one he sends low and into the box. It's bounced around. Gomes is there, and now it's knocked away. Slide tackle in the box. Montero comes away with it. He gets it knocked away. And now lots of contact, and UMass Boston is furious.
Well, I think it's UMass Dartmouth is furious because it looked like there was a clear and obvious handball on Esteval Gomes in the box that wasn't whistled. Then the Beacons thought there should have been a foul on the Corsairs on the slide tackle of Campos.
And they are going to give a yellow card here. And it was John Santos who got up and was very frustrated.
Well, and then Santos made that tackle. UMass Dartmouth thought it wasn't clean, and then Santos got taken down. I mean, there were some interesting no calls from Barry Senich that aggravated both teams, but also Corsairs are probably frustrated because there have been a lot of calls where there hasn't been a ton of contact that have led to some really good free kick positions for the Beacons. And this is another one where you're actually a little bit further from the top of the box. This could be an opportunity for the Beacons to actually get a look on target from 25 to 27 yards out. A little bit easier to actually get it up over the wall and then back down in time.
Couple of Beacons over the ball as
it's Fontana and DeAndrade having a conversation.
Musavi getting the wall set. DeAndrade and Fontana. Fontana, he'll take it, shoots it, and it's off the crossbar. It bounces back out. And UMass Boston trying to corral it, but UMass Dartmouth gets it out of trouble. What an opportunity for the Beacons.
Perfectly lofted ball by Fontana. Just unfortunate to hit the crossbar there because Musavi really didn't react. It was right where it needed to be, just a little bit too high. Otherwise, Fontana would have stolen a goal for the Beacons.
And now you start to sense that UMass Boston has got their footing back a little bit here in this game with the opportunities that they've had, and that's been kind of the difference so far in this one. It has been the chances UMass Boston has had off set pieces and free kicks. And then on the flip side for UMass Dartmouth, a lot of their opportunities have really been off of UMass Boston turnovers.
Yeah, and that was something Jake Beverlin wanted to avoid. Any turnovers from 35 yards and in the Beacons' defensive half. And they made some early mistakes thus far, haven't been punished, and here's another one.
And now another opportunity coming for UMass Dartmouth. Knocked down in the box, and this one they're going to let slide.
It was shoulder to shoulder rather than shoulder to back, which I think is why Boris Senic wasn't giving it. But that looked like a lot of contact by Emelson Barbosa, the bigger player. Typically, the bigger player is going to be whistled for the foul on a play where it looks like he made an initiated contact, and Beacons are struggling defensively right now.
Another turnover and a slide tackle that just saved possibly a goal and a great opportunity for Montero. And you see Jake Beverlin on the near sideline trying to just settle his team down in the back.
Yeah, that was a nice play by Daniel Campos, who has been playing some outside back recently, playing in the midfield today, but this Beacons back four looks all kinds of out of sorts right now. I mean, anytime UMass Dartmouth has any kind of pressure on the ball, the Beacons look a little frightened.
And now we'll see our first sub off the bench. Gabe De Oliveira will be coming on.
And he comes on for Dylan Daneker, who I believe was the player issued a yellow card a couple of minutes ago. So Henry Almeida also might be just trying to calm him down, because the yellow card was more for dissent than the actual foul that was whistled against the Corsairs that gave the Beacons that free kick where the ball ended up off the crossbar. And Almeida's going to come over and have a conversation with his junior midfielder.
You can sense the frustration a little bit for UMass Dartmouth as well. But also for UMass Boston, this has been a game that has had chances go by, and both sides could realistically be saying that they should be on the board already. As Castro-Dreher will corral it back in his own end, and UMass Dartmouth hasn't allowed, again, you talked about the balls over the top. UMass Boston hasn't really attempted many, and UMass Dartmouth has kind of been sitting on that as an option. So we get a foul here.
Yeah, Yuran Teixeira is moving up from center back to that sixth spot, that defensive midfielder role, with Daniel Campos moving to the left back, and Jeffrey Toro is the second center back next to Emelson Barbosa, but he's still dribbling too much. And Teixeira's first move is backwards. When he's going well, his first move is forward, and he can provide an offensive spark as a former forward, but we've seen Yuran Teixeira struggle to start back-to-back games, which is very irregular for the talented junior.
And now it's going to be a corner kick here for UMass Dartmouth, and just as you said, you talked about that first movement back, and Teixeira had that ball taken off his foot. And this opportunity coming from that. And UMass Boston with a couple of bodies on Montero, making sure that they're well aware of where number 10 in Navy is. This one is headed just wide of the target.
Yeah, I think that was Lucio Duprat, first player in front of the post who got ahead to it, but it was Nick Fontana, who's very good in aerial challenges for the Beacons, one of their forwards going up against UMass Dartmouth's top forward.
Castro-Dreher will send this one away. And for UMass Boston, problem has been getting that ball past that midline. When they've had opportunities, but for UMass Dartmouth, they've applied pressure and made it tough. The defensive end of the Beacons.
Well, it almost seems like when the ball is across midfield in the offensive half for the Beacons, they play with a fair amount of confidence. They know what they're doing. When it's in their own defensive half, it's like the team is not completely turned on to what they're supposed to be doing.
Teixeira with it now. Couple tugs of the jersey there as this one's played into the box. And will we get a call there? No. That will also slide. A couple of bodies went down to the turf. Long shot attempt, and that one's deflected away and now just cleared away. Chasing it down here is Montero, cutting it off and sending it right back down the field. Toro will chest it down and turn and regroup for UMass Boston. But an opportunity there on what looked like a ball into the box that really had no idea of where that one was going.
Tremendous play by Tyler Medeiros of UMass Dartmouth to get in front of John Santos at the back post, who was wide open. And I don't think Musavi would have been able to get in front of a header or even a shot off the foot there. But a good ball from Castaneda and a better play by Medeiros to make sure that he had his body in front of the player.
Montero offsides, and UMass Boston working quickly. Good ball towards the 18-yard box, and this one will be settled down here by the Beacons. Near side, good move by Fontana as he works into the box, tries a shot off the right foot, and it goes high and wide. It'll be a goal kick there for UMass Dartmouth.
Well, if you're UMass Dartmouth, you can't let Fontana turn there. I mean, his back is to the sideline. There's two defenders there. The one place you can't let him do, is turn towards goal and get the angle on both of you. And fortunately, there wasn't enough of an angle for him to get a better look off of, but that was really poor defending there by the Corsairs, making it a little bit easier on UMass Boston to create a semi-chance.
Battled for it midfield. Lots of contact right there in the middle of the field. Two players are down as Teixeira works into the box. No whistle has blown yet as the two players are still down. It goes out of play, and now the play will stop. And just like that, UMass Dartmouth is not happy. Montero immediately was walking over to the official as to ask why that wasn't blown dead.
Well, I think it has to be blown dead for both sides because it was clear head-to-head contact. And at the professional level, anytime a referee sees a possible head injury across Europe and even into MLS now, the immediate idea for the referees is you have to stop play. Because you don't want a player who's on the turf because of a head injury to potentially sustain more. As you see, coming off for UMass Dartmouth right now, it's Adonis Centeo, who clearly had some contact to his head. Milton DeAndrade, attended to by the Beacons trainer. Both players clearly went head-to-head going up for the ball. It doesn't matter that the Beacons had a slight advantage or who should have been called for the foul. Whistle the play dead, check on the players. If it's anything that could possibly be head trauma, that it's just not worth risking it. And I think that's what both teams, UMass Dartmouth was a little bit louder. The Beacons were taking the advantage, but that's a situation where you just blow the play dead and figure out who should have the ball later.
And it looks like it's going to be a corner kick here for UMass Boston, as the Beacons look to get an opportunity here on this play. And now discussion being had.
Well, I think both players need to come off the field. So DeAndrade's waiting to check back on, but Centeo, who was back out there defending the free kick, he's going to have to be checked out as well by the Beacons trainer because, again, the big concern is possible concussion or anything like that. You just have to be checked off, and since you were injured and caused the trainer to come out, you have to come off the field before you can come back on.
So the corner set to come here from UMass Boston, and this one is headed safely away. UMass Boston looks to corral on the offensive end. Sent back into the box, headed down, and now that one will trickle out of play. And both players will come back on, as DeAndrade will come in. And also re-entering is Centeo. This corner is sent in towards the box. Lots of bodies around, and a terrific save in net by Musavi.
That was headed by Santos, and it looked like it was going to get on target, but it kind of floated off the foot, and Emelson Barbosa had a phenomenal chance that Musavi was able to jump up and stab about 2-3 yards out. That's probably the Beacons' best chance of the game. A little stunned that ball didn't find its way into the back of the net because he was so wide open, so close to net, and he just put it right into the keeper.
The run set to come here for UMass Boston as it finds the foot of the Beacons. DeAndrade with it as he plays it towards the middle. Teixeira with it. Again goes backwards here. Toro plays it back over on the far side. Castro-Dreher will work it back. As Toro now comes out.
Pacing is just not there for this Beacons back line. It's slow, it's stagnant, it's a little bit predictable right now, and that's why UMass Dartmouth has pushed even more bodies forward, trying to potentially force a turnover.
There's a long ball to DeAndrade, who works into the box. Gets around a couple of UMass Dartmouth players and takes a tumble, and they will call a foul here on DeAndrade.
Yeah, he pulled one of the defenders back a little bit. Just a little bit of a jersey pull trying to get in front of him. And that's a good call, I believe, by the AR there, not even the referee against DeAndrade, who was trying to create a chance 1-on-3.
So UMass Dartmouth will send this one away. 20 minutes left and lots of chances already for both sides, especially for the Beacons. This game's still tied at 0. Neither team has been able to find the back of the net so far, and now a foul going the other way in favor of UMass Boston as they take possession here. Trying a little touch there that time down that far sideline, but it's out of bounds. And now a throw-in to come here for UMass Dartmouth. It's headed down and played over onto the near side. Right to the middle of the field here. Montero taps it over onto the near side. And a turnover taken away by UMass Boston. Teixeira has it ripped away from his foot. And quickly worked upfield as Montero will take it now on the near side. Trying to just send that one on frame. And Castro-Dreher with no problem. But again, another turnover in the back for UMass Boston.
It's a great tackle by Centeo because UMass Dartmouth, one of the few times this game where they put a lot of bodies forward, the Beacons have been able to get past that tackle. They might have had a real chance at a counterattack and maybe even a look on target where they're not playing 3v4, 3v5, which has typically been the case. And now Centeo, after that heavy tackle, appears to be shaken up. Remember, Centeo was the guy who went down after getting into a head-to-head collision with DeAndrade, and has not been an easy first 25 minutes for Centeo.
And now Centeo, once he got over towards the bench, immediately went down to the ground, and now we'll see, I believe, a sub set to come in.
Well, the sub doesn't come in right away. He's got to get to the scorer's table.
We'll see how they operate this here. So again, UMass Boston take an opportunity here.
Play should resume at this point. The injured player's off the field.
Still some confusion as to what they're going to allow, and they are just going to allow the player to come on here.
So you and O'Brien, I'm a little confused as to some of the protocol decisions by Boris Senic today, because soccer's not one of those sports where you have to immediately sub a player on for an injured player, and that was a long wait to get O'Brien's uniform on.
And now a substitution here for UMass Boston as Revan Rodriguez makes his appearance.
He's on for Jeffrey Toro, so we'll see what the Beacons elect to do in the back, whether Yuran Teixeira will move back to center back alongside of Melson Barbosa, or if the Beacons maybe use a different player in the back.
Played in towards the box, and this will be ruled a goal kick for UMass Dartmouth. Well, Gomes is back there for UMass Boston.
Esteval did play as a member of the Beacons back three last season in his first year as a Beacon before moving into the midfield. And I wonder at this point if the Beacons are moving into a back three, something they did the other day against Eastern late in the game when they were down a goal. They honestly looked a little bit more comfortable. And right now it appears as if it's a back three from left to right of Gomes, Amelson Barbosa, and Daniel Campos.
Turned over by the Beacons, and now UMass Boston with some possession. Played in towards the 18, and the shot goes well high of the target, not even testing Castro-Dreher. And now a goal kick here for UMass Boston that's taken quickly as Gomes works his way up the field. Castro-Dreher with it now. As UMass Boston tries to find their way in this one. Two golden opportunities for UMass Boston, including a ball that was right off the crossbar. Musavi will just corral this inside the box and roll it out. He's already made one terrific save in this one to keep UMass Boston off the board. It's taken away. Revan Rodriguez, the oncoming sub, has it now as he comes in towards the 18, and it's knocked away. Throw in to come for UMass Boston. But again, you talk about, Seth, what UMass Boston is able to do in the offensive end as they commit a foul here, but they've just looked more comfortable when that ball has especially been on that side of the field.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like left and right brain, and the left brain's working very well, and the right brain just isn't working very well for the Beacons. They turn on as soon as the ball crosses midfield, and they're pointing towards the UMass Dartmouth goal. It's just been so much more of a struggle for the entire group, if not for the strong play of Omar Castro-Dreher, who's even made a passing mistake of his own. Beacons could have already conceded one, if not two goals, so Beacons just need to settle in, and we'll see if this back three helps. We'll say that Amelson Barbosa has been the Beacons' best defender their last two games, and that Campos and Gomes have also been very strong defensively the last couple of weeks. So not a typical looking lineup for the Beacons, using three in the back. That hasn't been the norm the last 2 years, or using Gomes necessarily or Campos in the back three, but see if they can maybe stabilize this Beacons defense that has not been what we're used to seeing.
Of course, you talked about earlier in the broadcast, Jacob Castro not in net for UMass Dartmouth today. And that is a huge loss. A guy who's already played a lot of minutes in net for UMass Dartmouth, and now Castro-Dreher will corral this.
An ambitious chance there from Ronnie Morales. Did not get much behind it. Right on the turf, easy save for Castro-Dreher. Well, I mean, it should be a bad loss for the Corsairs, but then you see the play, Musavi making that point-blank stop on Amelson Barbosa. Might be the backup, but he's played well thus far, making a couple saves, including that early stop on Nick Fontana in the opening minutes.
Now a good chance here for UMass Boston as Rodriguez has it. Just outside the 18. Looks to work in. UMass Boston Beacon went down at the top of the 18-yard box prior to that. And now UMass Dartmouth takes it away, and they'll have an opportunity trying to counter the other way, but it is kicked out of bounds, and UMass Boston will get a throw-in. So there's that quick counter we talked about.
Beacon's frustrated because they thought Gerardo Castaneda was maybe pulled back as he tried to make a run into the box. On the opposite side, Henry Almeida is barking at the far side AR that Revan Rodriguez was well offside on that long floated ball.
Rodriguez is going to try and hunt down another here. Headed down, and now knocked off the leg. That time of Nera. And a throw-in to come here for UMass Boston. For all the pressure that the Beacons have applied, of Corsairs have done a good job of answering the bell so far.
Yeah, the Beacons have had a couple periods of sustained pressure, but UMass Dartmouth's done a nice job of immediately answering back with a chance or two, not letting the Beacons continue to build and build as, again, Castaneda ends up on the turf at the end of a play and looks up at Senich asking where the call is as DeAndrade went a bit too far. I mean, these games are always chippy between these two sides. You've got a lot of guys who played together in high school or know each other from club soccer, and also the UMass Boston, UMass Dartmouth games. They mean a little bit more. It's an in-state rivalry. The other thing that's been interesting to me is Jake Beverlin is being a lot more active on the sideline than we're used to seeing him, a lot more tactical strategy that he's trying to bark out to his players, especially here in the first half. There's a little bit of pushing and shoving on the far side.
And UMass Dartmouth's sideline starting to get vocal now.
Well, it looked like Castaneda was getting into it with UMass Dartmouth's Gabe DeOliveira, and then DeOliveira threw his head back as if he had been potentially contacted in the head. Boris Senich is going to have a conversation with his AR, and we'll see what comes of this conversation.
There have been a lot of discussions so far in this first half. And now a red card has been assessed to UMass Boston.
Yeah, they're going to say it was a headbutt on Gerardo Castaneda.
So Castaneda's evening is done, and UMass Boston, for the second straight contest, will go down a man.
And again, this is a terrible blow for UMass Boston in that you're already short. I mean, we talked about it. They only have 5 available field players off the bench. So this group of guys who's already played a ton from behind the other day against Eastern Connecticut State find themselves in a tough spot. And it all started because Castaneda was getting frustrated, thrown to the turf a couple times, thought that he deserved to have drawn a foul, and it unfortunately couldn't keep his consternation to himself as the Beacons really have their work cut out for them. 12:40 left in the first half. You're talking about nearly 60 minutes down a man after playing for almost 80 the other day.
So the Beacons, another tough road here. And again, for Jake Beverlin, you look at this as a situation where you hope that this doesn't become a constant throughout the rest of the year.
Well, it's just a lack of discipline. I mean, yes, it makes sense that Castaneda was frustrated, but if he threw his head towards the head of a Corsairs player, which is what the referees agreed that he did, as the Beacons are going to get another foul on a seemingly ticky-tack play at the edge of the box and a chance here, you just can't make those mental mistakes. I mean, it's one thing to push a player, it's another thing. Anytime you throw anything towards a player's head, you're liable to get a red card, and that was a poor decision by Castaneda.
So Castaneda done. UMass Boston, though, with another chance here. A good free kick opportunity for the Beacons. We've seen a couple that have come close so far. And trying to back up the wall are the Beacons. As they get the okay, this one's sent in nice and high. Teixeira with the header, but right into the hands of Musafi.
UMass Boston has had some really good service on some of these free kicks, and they've been able to get a fair amount of their free kicks to get looks on target, just have not been able to put one home, and they might really come back to rue missing those early chances. Down a man here now, still tied up. Gives the Corsairs a little bit of an advantage the rest of the way, not only playing up a man, but playing against the Beacons team that is certainly going to look a little bit more tired after, I mean, you talk about playing down a man for 80 minutes on Saturday, now playing down a man for almost 60 minutes on a Tuesday. That extra day of rest really could have helped a Beacons team that has some players who have been playing 80 to 90 minutes regularly. At the midpoint of the season, most of these guys are dealing with some bumps and bruises.
Now UMass Boston even limiting that bench more without Castaneda the rest of the way. Fontana lost it that time. And now UMass Dartmouth trying to attack the other way, and they'll get a foul here as Montero drew it that time, and that drew a disapproval from the UMass Boston fan base.
Well, I just think that Boris Senic has not called a consistent game at this point. He's called a lot of soft stuff, but the head-to-head collision he let go, which both benches were upset about, and then there's been some heavier contact where guys have ended up on the turf away from the ball that Senic hasn't even looked at. It's been inconsistent refereeing, and it hasn't hurt one side more than the other, but it's difficult for either team to gauge what's going to be a foul and what's not.
This one hunted down in the corner. It's a pass in towards the middle, a diving header, and it is in the back of the net.
I think it hit the side of the cage and
Wow.
hit the back wheel and came back out. A perfect header from DeAndrade just wide of the post, and it fooled all the Beacons fans here. And
Looked
most
like,
of us,
and me up here.
yeah, it was oh so close, and it was the fact that it hit the side netting and came back out that made it look like it was on goal. A tremendous ball from El Hasnaoui to find DeAndrade, who was doing a great job of communicating with his teammate that he was wide open.
What a impressive play as well by DeAndrade in the box, as now Fontana trying to chase this one down, and UMass Boston again down a man if you're just joining us, but the Beacons still pressuring this one in towards the box, and now it's tried to be played forward but headed away. Another golden opportunity there for the UMass Boston Beacons as they get another ball inside the 18-yard box.
Well, now it looks like UMass Dartmouth is struggling a little bit with their defending. Heavy touches that are allowing the Beacons to extend plays and really create better chances.
And now we've got a foul on the far side.
And see, this is my other point, Elijah, is Senic hasn't called a consistent game, and that original chance where DeAndrade was pulled back, that has to be a yellow card if you're going to call some of this other stuff. To me, that was a pretty aggressive tackle with no talking to by the referee. And it's a frustrating game even from up here when you don't know what the referee is going to do on plays that are kind of similar.
So a throw-in set to come here from UMass Dartmouth after a Beacons miscue. And if you're UMass Dartmouth already coming into this game, it was on paper the Beacons a team that would go offensively. And for UMass Dartmouth really kind of looking for that counter. But it still looked, even with UMass Dartmouth, or UMass Boston rather, down a man, still trying to attack and pressure. And now in the middle of the field we have another foul.
Well,
and will this be a card?
I don't think it's going to be a card. I was honestly a little frustrated it wasn't called a foul originally because it looked like Santos had clipped the back of the ankle there of UMass Dartmouth's Yorick Sasbin. I mean, a couple of Dartmouth players were waiting for the foul, and it wasn't originally blown by Senic. Just to the point, I mean, I think you just have a lot of frustration spilling out from the lack of conversion on some of these early chances, from some of the fouls. Certainly the Beacons are a little heated over the red card because I don't think 90% of the guys could see the contact from Castaneda on the potential headbutt. But it's been a frustrating first 45 minutes for both teams. UMass Dartmouth certainly the happier of the two sides, up a man on the road.
Montero trying to send that one on target and send it well wide. It'll be a goal kick for UMass Boston. A couple of times UMass Dartmouth, a couple of chances that been a little ambitious. As now the Beacons will work out of the back here, and this has been a spot that UMass Boston has struggled early in this game, but now looking a lot more comfortable back there. Even down a man, it's played towards the middle. DeAndrade gives it off. And that one is lost that time on a bit of a touch that was just too far. Montero chests that one out of bounds.
It's a nice play by Neil Nira. He's really been the anchor for this Dartmouth defense in front of Musavi, and had a lot of challenges, but has been up to the task 90% of the time.
And now a stoppage here, and they're going to say it was a pull of the shorts. That's going to draw a foul. And DeAndrade will take a free kick, but would have been a good chance for UMass Boston.
Yeah, weird decision not to give advantage because the Beacons had the ball at the edge of the box in a one-on-one decision.
Ball sent in low, and a shot that's knocked away by Musavi towards the corner, and it will be a throw-in here.
Love that look from DeAndrade. Just a casual flick. The Beacons have been looking for the pass, and he curled it around the wall, and Musavi had to make a late reaction save. Really nice play by both DeAndrade and Musavi.
Throw-in set to come here by the Beacons. Gomes sends that one high towards the corner, and it goes off of what looked like the post. But Musavi didn't read it very well, and he went crashing into the post. It's going to be a goal kick as he didn't touch it.
Yeah, a really interesting look there from Gomes, who just that casual flick with his off foot, his left foot, towards the back post. And it's the second time the Beacons have hit the crossbar. So we've got another stoppage.
And again, our official is going to head over, and
I think he's telling Musavi to get the ball in faster and give him a warning for time wasting in the first half of a tie game.
Apparently.
I'm a little confused as to what's going on right now. Because it doesn't seem like Boris Senic is controlling this game. It feels like the players are kind of getting in his ear and causing him to think about some things, but it's not been a consistently called game through the first 40 minutes.
So far, we've had no goals, a red card, and lots of chances and really questions throughout the first half. Played in the middle. And UMass Boston trying to control here with about 3 minutes to go in this first half. And this is a half that UMass Boston, down a man, knows they had some chances and possibly have missed some. Still some time if they want to respond here. This one will roll out of bounds and a throw-in to come for UMass Dartmouth. It's a throw-in sent to come here. And this one going to be a long one that Gomes chests down. Santos. And he's taken down by Montero, and a free kick coming for UMass Boston. They elect to not take this quickly. Now Santos fires it over to switch the field.
That was very nearly disastrous there for the Beacons. It was a good ball from Santos, but there was a defender so close to it that if that Corsairs player had been able to get a foot on it, it could have been a 2-on-2 the other way.
And now a kick downfield here. And for UMass Dartmouth, this hasn't looked like a game so far in which they've been up a man for the majority of this first half. It's taken away here. And now DeAndrade lost it that time. A couple of Beacons there to recover, including Teixeira, who finds Fontana right in the middle, and he loses possession. This one tried to be played upfield for Montero, but not going on his run, and Gomes steps in. Switching the field now. Over onto the far side there. Worked back into the middle and turned over, but now a late foul called here again.
But what is that foul for? Like, forget which team you're rooting for. There was so little contact at this point. I mean, this is essentially becoming a no-contact game of soccer. I mean, this is a collegiate soccer game where you want to see a little bit of play in it. It feels like we're watching a field hockey match where we're constantly getting a whistle after a whistle.
It's been very touchy, especially in the middle of the field. This one is turned over. And now losing possession are the Beacons. It'll go back the other way. And the tempo and pace here at the end of this first half is very much slowed down. It's been lots of back and forth of possession. As we approach a minute to go, a push down there, and now we get the foul call.
Well, and also at some point you give a yellow card for infringement, and I'm not saying either side, but you're seeing so many of these whistles. At some point if someone has 5-6 calls, okay, well, one way to slow them down is that's another obvious foul, is just give a guy a yellow card and say enough is enough, and that's something that Senich has refused to do. We've seen a straight red, but the yellow has not come out for either side.
Ball played on the near side. It's kept in. Official does not wave that one off. Played towards the middle. Barbosa going to try and send it downfield. Brought down off the foot of DeAndrade. Tried to play it towards Teixeira, but he let it go through. 8 seconds to go. This one fired in low, and Mustavi makes the save, and that is going to end our first half. UMass Boston and UMass Dartmouth locked in a 0-0 contest. And Seth, we saw it all in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, UMass Boston had those great chances in the first 5 minutes. We saw Nick Fontana ping the crossbar. We saw the Beacons get a couple of looks. Musavi made a point-blank save on Emelson Barbosa. The Beacons' defense really struggled early on, and UMass Dartmouth nearly took advantage. Obviously, the red card to Gerardo Castaneda is a bit of a game changer, although the Beacons haven't looked like a vastly different team and hasn't changed the momentum of this game thus far. But you're seeing we're not going to talk about the referees all second half because we've talked about it a lot here in the first half, but it has not been a fluid soccer game to this point, and we'll see in the second half if they do get to play a little bit more, because I think both sides are just really frustrated with the lack of kind of knowing what's going to be a call, what's not going to be a call, and just with some of these stoppages where we're not even seeing advantage played when a team could really use that advantage and want that advantage. So it has not been the best half of soccer to watch here in the first 45 minutes for a variety of reasons.
So the UMass Boston Beacons looking for that goal to put them ahead. They'll have to do it down a man. UMass Boston tied at 0. We'll head to the second half here in a little while, but first enjoy Revan Rodriguez and the Beacons Spotlight. He'll talk about winning the first ever state title in Brockton High School history as a senior. Revan Rodriguez on Beacon Spotlight. It's 0-0 here at James Cotter Field.
It was a year that we had hopes that we could go far, but we didn't really think about, we're going to win a state championship. It wasn't a team that we would look at and say, we're going to win a state championship. We had the talent to do it, but we didn't have we weren't a team per se. We lost in the first round of playoffs. It was a tough loss because it was my first time in the playoffs while being in varsity, so it was tough. But I think we got over it well. We worked in the summer. We put in a lot of work in the summer because it was my freshman class basically all together that were gonna come into my senior year. So we worked a lot and we built up our chemistry, and we felt confident in the summer after we lost. We had already talked about it because we had the same coach freshman year, and then our year he was gonna be the varsity coach. So we had already talked about it years before, but we didn't really say, we're going to win a state championship. But we had the feeling. In the beginning of the season, we struggled a little bit. I feel like it was because we was just adjusting to each other. But as it got along, probably the third game of the season, we started rolling. We didn't lose until the last game of the season, literally the last game. So I feel like the season went pretty well. Yeah, regular season, yeah. That team brought Brockton closer because we hadn't in the beginning we didn't really have that much support because people didn't know what we were doing, but towards the end during playoffs we had so much support, plus we were one of the top ranked teams, so we had every playoff game at home, and all the support that was shown, a lot of people came out to support, and it was nice to watch. It was fun because people would actually come to watch the games. People were interested in watching the games. People didn't just come to have fun with their friends. People actually came to watch, and we delivered. So it was always a fun environment to be in. It was in Worcester. We played Longmeadow. We had never heard of them before. We didn't have any tape on them. We didn't really watch them. We got there. We felt really confident, a little bit way too confident, I think. We went down in the first half. We were losing. It was the first time we were down in that playoffs. We were losing 2-0. during halftime, our coach talked to us. We felt confident still because we knew we could score 5 goals in a game. And we ended up scoring 5 goals in the game. So we won. We ended up winning 5-3, and that was probably one of the best feelings I've ever felt. I think it was definitely bigger when we got back to Brockton. We obviously we celebrated on the field, but it was definitely big when we got back. We had when we got back, we rallied for a little bit, like at the school. We was just there for a long time. The city had a parade for us. There was just a lot of love being shown by the city. We got donations from banks and stuff for the school. Raised a lot of money for the school too. Being from Brockton has taught me a lot. Has made me grow as a person, because seeing the different backgrounds of everyone, it's like everyone's not the same in Brockton, so you can't really go and like. There's so much diversity that you just feel welcomed.
Welcome back here to James Cotter Field as the UMass Boston Beacons at the moment tied up at 0 against UMass Dartmouth. Again, a rivalry game that UMass Boston so far in the series has been really owned by UMass Boston and the Beacons, and it's now time we take a look at the halftime statistics. And, well, Seth, for a contest that started out with the Beacons really dominant, it turned out to be a situation in which both sides ended up pretty even here towards the end of this first half, and in part because UMass Boston will be down a man the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, UMass Boston, they kind of did the same thing against Eastern Connecticut State the other day, where at halftime they were even in shots despite being down for close to 30 minutes in that first half. The Beacons can play down a man and play effectively. I think the bigger question for UMass Boston is, can they keep their mental focus in check? And second, do they have the legs? Because I think it is a concern playing down a man for almost 60 minutes today after playing down a man for almost 80 minutes 3 days ago. Some point you're going to see a decrease in play, especially because you only have the 5 guys off the bench, and you have Jeffrey Toro, who you're going to have to trust here in the second half, despite the fact he struggled a little bit. But do you go to Suri Shavali, who we haven't seen? Do you go to a Nilson DePina Fernandez, who really hasn't played a ton in close games? We've already seen Reven Rodriguez. Josh Madden has been struggling a little bit, hasn't been seeing as much time. I mean, you're kind of short on options, so either you rely on that depth or you ride these starters and just hope that they don't run out of gas at the wrong time.
So UMass Boston at the moment tied up at 0 against UMass Dartmouth. Well, the women's side of things, they picked up a big win against Eastern Connecticut State. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the victory on Saturday right here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Shout to all my boss boys, we rowdy. Shout to all my boss boys. Shout to all my boss boys, we rowdy. Shout to all my boss boys. Shout to all my boss boys, we rowdy. Shout to all my boss boys. Shout to all my boss boys. When you're ready, when you're ready.
Welcome back on the Beacons Broadcast Network. I'm Elijah Gonzalez at the Renskis alongside me. For all the action here tonight at James Conner Field, UMass Boston tied at 0 against their rivals, UMass Dartmouth. Here at halftime, we'll have second half action coming up momentarily, but we'll take a look at the Little East Conference scoreboard. And Seth, tomorrow it's a full slate of games for a lot of these teams and a couple of conference matchups, but really for some of these teams, especially at the top, including Keene State, a big one against Castleton if they want to put themselves in a 2-0 record slot in the Little East Conference.
Yeah, Castleton's really struggled against UMass Boston the last 2 seasons. The Beacons earning lopsided shutout wins, but they've been a team that's been right in the middle of the pack against the rest of the conference, and that could be an interesting battle. Long road trip, though, for the Spartans. The game I'm most interested in is that EastCon game at Rick. EastCon still undefeated, 9-0, 2-0 in conference play, but Rhode Island College just defeated Western Connecticut State, handing the Colonials just their third loss of the season and first in conference play. Rick is not an easy place to go. It's not the best playing surface, and if there is rain in the forecast, which there is for tomorrow, you're going to be looking at a sloppy pitch. Could make things a little bit more difficult on the Warriors. Be interesting to see if Rick can maybe escape with a tie or maybe even earn their second consecutive upset win, at least according to the LAC coaches preseason poll. A big game to watch. It's never easy to go into Providence and earn a win over the Anchorman.
Right, of course, you mentioned that win for Eastern Connecticut State, but again, Keene State also one of those teams that was talked about in the top 4 of the Little East preseason poll. Western Connecticut State as well up there in the top 3, and UMass Boston, of course, finishing out that poll at the 3 slot as well in the Little East preseason poll. You take a look around Beaconville and the things upcoming here for the Beacons, and of course the women's tennis team picking up a win over Bridgewater State today, and on Wednesday, October 2nd, again, more rivalry games coming your way. It's volleyball. They head to UMass Dartmouth along with the women's soccer team, who will also head to UMass Dartmouth. So, again, a lot of these teams getting familiar with the Corsairs here through the week.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at UMass Boston going forward, a slightly easier schedule. Yes, you're on the road after a homestand, but Plymouth State, a team that just lost 3-1 against UMass Dartmouth on the road, a team that the Beacons tied last year, but are better on paper than you go out of conference to Curry. Southern Maine is just a team that has really struggled this year, still looking for their first win before the Beacons return home to play Rhode Island College, a rare Sunday game. This is a big one. You have to get a point out of this for UMass Boston. For UMass Dartmouth going in, I think you would have been happy with a point. Now up a man for the entire second half, really closer to 60 minutes. You'd like to get the victory, but this is big for the Beacons. They need to avoid a 2-game losing streak. They need to show some backbone because they easily could have pulled out the full 3 points against Eastern Connecticut State. They had a 2-1 lead the other day with under 10 minutes to go. Didn't have quite enough against a team that is a very strong side. And I'm not trying to take anything away from UMass Dartmouth, but they don't have as many weapons as Eastern Connecticut State had. They don't have as many returning all-conference players. The Beacons can get one. I think you're going to see them try to sit back in a more defensive shape and try to hold on. So it'll be interesting to see, because if UMass Boston concedes early in this half, then they're going to have to work even harder to try to come back, and it really could put some pressure on those legs later in the day. One positive is this is a night game and it's a little bit cooler. Saturday, temperatures in the 70s, maybe even the 80s, did not make things easy on those Beacons legs that were defending for most of the game.
And again, this will obviously change coming up tomorrow, but if UMass Boston were to lose today, they would be one of just 2 teams with 2 losses in the Little East Conference. Southern Maine, the only team that has lost twice so far on the 2019 season in Little East Conference play. So the teams will switch sides. We are just about set for action. And again, Seth, we talked about it a lot in the first half, but the officiating became a highlight in this one as this game wore on. And for UMass Boston, unfortunately, the officiating taking away a player for them. As the Beacons get set for half number 2. We are just about ready. Nick Beverland in his 7th season with UMass Boston On the other side, Henry Almeida in his 12th year as a member of UMass Dartmouth. So UMass Dartmouth will start it off. Montero is there and set and ready.
Beacons are going to stick with that back three. So a lot of pressure on Barbosa, Campos, and Gomes, but it seemed to kind of help out the structure of UMass Boston. They played with the ball a little bit less in their own third and were able to connect with the midfield a little bit more. See if that helps them here in the second half. The other thing is Reven Rodriguez stays on for Toro, so unless the Beacons bring back Jeffrey Toro, you might be looking at really 2 or 3 field players available off the bench for a Beacons team that has already been playing a lot of games in a short span.
Castro-Dreher will send this one away. And again, you mentioned it for UMass Boston. Those back three have looked a lot more comfortable than what they started with early in this one. Teixeira was one of those players who has now moved up more to that midfield role here in this one. But UMass Boston going to have to get as much defensively out of their unit as they can, already down a man in this contest. Throw in sent to come here for UMass Dartmouth, and now that one's taken away. And DeAndrade quickly working the other way. Nice move to get around one defender, and now squeaks by another. Sends it right back towards the middle of the field, nobody there. As they backtrack, and Campos plays it to the middle. Teixeira tried to play it onto the near side, and it was knocked away, and here comes UMass Dartmouth the other direction. Montero going to have to just watch that one come to the foot of Barbosa as he heads towards that end line. And now it's played over onto the far side. Gomes with it. Back towards the middle here. UMass Boston trying to switch the field as Campos takes it now. Plays that ball right into the middle, and now turned over. Montero. Ball tried to be played through and taken away on the backside by UMass Boston. That was intended for Centeo. And it's out of bounds, or rather a foul is registered. And now UMass Boston will get a free kick here.
Yeah, easy call by the referee that time. The defender came up over Nick Fontana, but he had 2 hands on the shoulders, which is a clear impediment to Fontana winning that ball.
That's going to get called about 95% of the time as well. But again, with the way tonight has gone, it's been tough to get the read on what will be let go and what will not.
A couple poor decisions by this Beacons back three. The 2 players on the wide side have turned it over within the last 2 minutes and really made it easier for UMass Dartmouth.
Quickly thrown out by Castro-Dreher. UMass Boston has registered a good chunk of the possession here early, but nothing has really stirred on the offensive end. Pass back by Teixeira was mishandled as DeAndrade tried to squeak by, but taken away right in the midfield. And now it's Montero. Know what he can do with the ball at his foot. This one played back in the middle towards Montero. Settled down and fired back over onto the far side. So UMass Dartmouth so far has elected to take away that long ball, and they do it here. And now DeAndrade goes down right in the middle of the field. And he is still shaken up as he pounds the ground with his fist in frustration and in some pain.
That's going to be our first yellow of the game to Lucio Duprat. And that didn't look that egregious to me, although clearly DeAndrade is in a world of pain right now. But it's just the consistency. I mean, that's the 15th or 16th foul already against UMass Dartmouth, and we're not even fully 50 minutes into this game. The other interesting thing is we talked about the players maybe not being able to anticipate what's a foul, what's not a foul. DeAndrade, the previous time the ball was across the 50, felt that he was fouled as he was making a turn and just stopped, expecting the whistle to be blown. It wasn't, and it allowed UMass Dartmouth to move the ball faster down the field. I mean, it's become a situation where you just have players kind of second-guessing or even expecting calls and not getting them, because we did see some calls earlier on in the game where not a lot of contact was going on, and now you see the quick yell. Maybe there was a little bit more to that foul than either of us necessarily saw, because Andrade still working on that what looks like his right foot or his right calf.
And he's a big loss if he is unable to return in this one. Not only did you mention the depleted bench, but talking about a guy who is leading in about every offensive statistical category that you can find on this UMass Boston roster. But he looks like he's going to try and hobble off here under his own power. He's got his shoe off.
Well, at this point, you can sub him off and then bring him back on, but if he has to be subbed off a second time, then you're losing one of your best scorers. And also, who do you bring on for him? The Beacons don't have anyone warming, and I think they're just going to send DeAndrade, who already had to come off once today because he was in a head-to-head collision, right back to the scorer's table because they're that short on players.
Played to the middle here. And now a good ball in towards the box, but once again, there's that guy that's given UMass Boston a couple of nightmares already in this one. Musavi comes out and makes the stop.
Yeah, nice job there, because Yasser El-Hasnaoui, it's a nice look from Barbosa. El-Hasnaoui made the right run. I'm not sure if he quite would have been able to get there before it went over the end line, but Musavi did a nice job coming off his line and being alert to the little bit of a threat there from UMass Boston.
And El-Hasnaoui has been a guy that has made some good runs already in this game, and the ball at his feet, he's been impressive so far for UMass Boston, creating some opportunities. Saw it on the near side, on the side of the field that UMass Boston's on right now in the first half. So we approach the 40-minute mark to go in this contest, and still UMass Boston searching for that first goal, and UMass Dartmouth again searching for that first win in a while against UMass Boston. Played to the middle of the field, taken away. DeAndrade makes his appearance back on the field, and, well, he puts himself in position here. Works in towards the 18, had it knocked off his foot. No call is made. Teixeira off of his foot, and now there's a foul called. Montero, he can't believe it. He picked up the ball, trying to show the official that it was all ball. But that's not the case, and UMass Boston will get a free kick.
There were three possibilities for calls there. I think the referee could have whistled a foul against UMass Boston on DeAndrade winning it. Then DeAndrade clearly was impeded. The referee didn't even signal for advantage. He just let play go on. And then that was a 50-50 call. One of these teams, especially if there's a goal in this game, is going to go crazy on the referee just because of a decision that is made in the lead-up to a goal. It feels like an inevitability at this point.
Well, and right now the situation for UMass Boston, this has been a common theme, which has been the Beacons have had a great opportunity to score goals off of free kicks. Teixeira's going to take it, and he sent it just wide again.
Second time today the Beacons have put the ball in the side netting on the wrong side. A nice low strike, just couldn't curve it back in from Teixeira. That was difficult because you're so close to the net that it's a little bit you almost want a free kick 28 to 30 yards out rather than that 20 to 25 because it's difficult to go up and down.
And now another foul called as Beacons player dragged down there.
I mean, the great chances for the Beacons continue to pile up. 2 times they've hit the crossbar. Twice they've had great chances go into the side netting. Musavi's made a couple of good saves. Beacons team, they're just playing for that first goal because I think you're going to see a more defensive shape if they can get that first goal. But they need to break through here, especially earlier on in the half. It'll take a little bit of pressure off the legs.
Fontana with one of his first touches of the second half as DeAndrade with some frustration sending that one out of bounds off the netting. But again, Fontana was a guy who had one of those golden opportunities off the crossbar early in this one. Off of a free kick. for the Beacons. And now, goal kick set to come here from UMass Dartmouth. They have not had as many opportunities as you might expect up a man.
Honestly, their best chances, in my mind, came before. I can't remember a solid, clear-cut chance for UMass Dartmouth with 10 when up a man, but they had a couple of really good ones in 2 or 3 different chunks where the Beacons had been controlling, and then UMass Dartmouth came back and answered with 1 or 2 good looks.
Good move here by Yuran Rodriguez, and he lost it, and now another foul is called.
I'm not quite sure where the foul was there.
Neither was I. I was waiting on you.
It looked like Reven had fought through a little bit of contact, but was going to continue to play it. Back heel flicked it to a teammate, and then the whistle was blown after there was nothing happening for a second or two.
Here's a free kick opportunity for UMass Boston. It's knocked outside of the box and cleared away. As Campos plays it back here. And over onto the far side, where again UMass Boston elects to operate. This one's sent in towards the near side here, and it's headed away. This will be a corner kick for the Beacons. And Seth, if you just turned on this game, you would expect that UMass Boston is up a man the way they've played so far.
I was about to say, it does kind of feel like that with the way that UMass Boston has been able to kind of control the possession even down a man. I mean, the nice thing for the Beacons is this time they went down a man with 12 minutes left in the first half versus 12 minutes into the first half. But yeah, UMass Boston has controlled the play. And honestly, for the second straight game, they seem to be playing better with 10 men than when they started the game with 11.
Over on the far side, shot is blocked. Up at the top of the 18. Confusion as to who was going to get it. Gomes plays it back in towards the middle. Knocked away, knocked down. Now here's an opportunity and a stop by Musavi again. Knocked away back towards the top of the box. DeAndrade will grab it. El Hasnoui with the opportunity there. DeAndrade tries to send it towards the middle. This time he sends it low. Teixeira is there. That one cleared away. And again, we talk about the goalkeeping for this UMass Dartmouth team. Doesn't look like they've missed a beat without Jacob Castro.
No, great save by Musavi on the left-footed look from El Hasnoui. But right now, UMass Dartmouth, not only do they look like they're playing down a man, they're playing desperation defense. They're just kicking the ball at willy-nilly. They're not really trying to kick it to a foot or a teammate. And it's created some chances because some of these clearances have gone right to the foot of the Beacon in a dangerous spot.
Far side, Beacon's now working into the box. Shot with the left foot is blocked and cleared away. And UMass Boston will get another throw-in.
When was the last time UMass Dartmouth connected on one pass, much less two? I mean, it's literally just been clearance after clearance. And Henry Almeida's got to make a change, whether tactical or some kind of substitution right now to calm his team down.
Yuran Rodriguez with another terrific move. He gets inside the box. He's knocked down, and no foul is called.
That has to be a foul. Not a penalty, but clearly pulled back there on his way into the box, and that's not called when there's twice as much contact. I'm very confused right now what constitutes a foul in this game.
Played back towards the far side. And again, I think players are with you. I think UMass Dartmouth as well as UMass Boston is seen calls go lots of different ways. This has gone out of bounds for another UMass Boston corner. And again, we talk about all the fouls and everything that could have been, but right now for UMass Boston, again, it has looked like they have played much better with 10 as opposed to 11.
Yeah, it's a crazy concept, but got a lot of practice on Saturday, and they just seem to be playing smarter and simpler.
This one headed by Gomes well wide, and it'll be a goal kick. But another opportunity for UMass Boston.
I mean, and honestly, this is an opportunity for UMass Dartmouth. Okay, you can breathe a little bit, and that's what Henry Almeida is telling his team. Just settle down, settle down. Can you maybe win the aerial challenge here if Musavi goes long, and then maybe play the ball a couple times? They're going to go short, which I like that idea. Connect a pass, try to work your way up the field, and take some of the pressure off that back four.
And then they clear it downfield, and it's taken away quickly by UMass Boston, so that possession has already ended.
I mean, even if you're more of a direct team, just breathe a little bit. Play the ball right now. it's not the worst thing to play across your back four a couple times, even if it's not opening up space. At least it's letting your team kind of calm down after having to work so hard defensively.
El Hasnaoui with it. Plays it to the middle. That's Santos. Santos back to Teixeira. Teixeira with it. He's looked a lot more comfortable here in this second half after a rough start to the contest. And a little back heel attempt that was trying to be flicked on there by Rodriguez, knocked away.
Yeah, I still don't think he's playing as calmly and as comfortably as he can, but he's certainly adding a little bit more.
De Andrade sends it right into the chest of Musavi.
Yeah, Musavi has easily been the man of the match in my mind. He's made some really big saves, and for whatever reason, Dartmouth without their starting keeper, and I don't think Castro could have done much better thus far, not only keeping the Beacons off the scoreboard, but doing a nice job of cutting down on some chances and making some really tough saves.
El Hasnaoui with it on the near side. He plays it back. Campos now. And again, you're talking about a guy, when we talked about Jacob Castro, guy who has a goals against average sitting right around 1, and a guy who has already totaled all 5 of the wins for UMass Boston, or UMass Dartmouth rather, this year. And in those 5 wins, he's got 3 shutouts to his name.
UMass Dartmouth looks like they're going to send 2 subs to the scorer's table, trying to just maybe find a slightly different look or provide a little bit more pressure. Beacons, who typically have players warming as early as 10 to 15 minutes into both halves, don't have anyone warming up yet here in the second half.
And the question is, do they have anyone that could come in that situation? Montero, he'll try to fire it towards that far post, and it goes wide of Morales, but that time, again, you gave space to Montero, and we know what he can do with that.
Yeah, that's the one danger player. Will Cochran is going to come in alongside Nate Pacheco. Montero's going to come off, so that's a benefit for the Beacons, but I'm sure this is one of those breathers where he'll get a 5-10 minute shift off, and then he'll come back on with a little bit of fresher legs as he's joined on the bench by Tyler Medeiros, who made that great play in the first half to get in front of John Santos and a flow to the backside that could have been an easy goal if not for Medeiros' job of jumping in front.
Pacheco trying to add some pressure on the back line as Cochran comes in, and he applies pressure immediately on the UMass Boston back line. As Campos plays it towards the middle. Now Teixeira off the touch from Fontana. Taken away by Morales. Battle for it, and it goes off the foot of Teixeira last. So it'll be a throw-in for UMass Dartmouth. But again, still just have not looked all that comfortable here in this game. UMass Boston, even down a man, has been the more comfortable team so far as we approach just past that 30-minute mark.
Well, I think UMass Dartmouth probably came into this game with the expectation they were going to have to concede a majority of the possession against the Beacons team that is so good possessing the ball, and we're going to look to hit them on the counterattack. And despite being up a man, it seems to still be where they look their best. I mean, that Montero effort was the best chance UMass Dartmouth had in this half, and again, it came not necessarily with a ton of numbers, but 3 guys pushing forward and trying to catch the Beacons sleeping.
And now here's a turnover that almost cost the Beacons there on a pass in between those 2 backs on that back line. And now Campos will take it from Castro-Dreher. Played to the middle. The always dangerous De Andrade, and now a foul is called.
Yeah, pretty obvious grab of the jersey there.
De Andrade plays it. El Hasnaoui with it. So he tries to work around the defender on this near side. Gets around a couple, then maybe trying to do too much there as it's cleared back downfield. Campos, though, cuts it off. He'll look to send it in the box, sends it low. Not a great service in. And now it's turned over in the other way. Here's Cochran, the sub, off the bench. Tries to make a move around Barbosa. He's been very physical on that back line. And another good play, but still now comes to the foot, an opportunity for UMass Dartmouth, and they send it about 1.5 miles wide on a shot that time from Sajbid.
Yeah, fortunate there for UMass Boston. You had 2 of the 3 backs in this back 3 following the ball, and it left a player wide open at the top of the 18. Even if Sajbin had elected to dribble a couple times, he had some space there. Took that a little too early for my liking. So UMass Dartmouth has really created their best 2 chances of this second half in the last 90 seconds.
Play to the middle here. Teixeira with it. Santos over far side. Colliding with Gomes that time. And he's still down on the field. And now will the referees come over to stop it?
I think Gomes just got a shoulder into the chest, totally inadvertent because it was his momentum taking him in to the body of the Corsairs player.
And now over on this near side, Seth Montero is getting some medical attention, so we'll see if he does come back in this game. Again, this has been a very physical contest so far between these two sides. And again, another contact as advantage was called by the official. DeAndrade with it. Just floats it back to Teixeira after losing possession. Teixeira works in with it. Comes around a couple of UMass Dartmouth midfielders. Now tries to battle his way in towards the box. It's kept in. DeAndrade with it inside the box. Tried to pass it back. And now El Hasnoui with it. As he's pulled up that time. Contact, and now a foul is called.
Yeah, that was a clear foul on El Hasnoui, and a nice job by Teixeira to just follow the play. I think all the Corsairs players expected it to go over the goal line and kind of waited a moment. He was able to find DeAndrade, but again, UMass Dartmouth, it all started because the clearance just wasn't good enough. A Corsair player just tried to get it outside of a dangerous area, but clearing it to a central zone is not a good clearance in any sport, and it gave the Beacons a chance to create something after their initial chance went a little bit short.
Montero talking to some of the coaching staff down on the sideline for UMass Dartmouth, so see if he comes in at any point here in the near future. This one almost turned over. A good play by Campos to get his foot in, and now it is turned over. Played towards the middle inside the box. Lots of contact, no call. Cochran gets up. Now a shot, Sajbin, and a save by Castro-Dreher.
What a save by Castro-Dreher, who's very frustrated with his defense.
And possibly for good reason, they turned it over. And then, again, our referee letting a play go inside the box with some contact. But Sajbin right there to almost put it home, and it took a Castro-Dreher save to keep this at a 0-0 game, and now he grabs it out of the air.
Well, I mean, this is a Corsairs team that has 14 goals on the year, and Montero's been involved with 11 of them, 8 goals and 3 assists. Sajbin is the other guy who's had a big impact offensively, so it's not a surprise that since they've been able to create a little bit, especially with Montero off the field, that it's through Sajbin, and it's a guy the Beacons really need to keep awareness of where he is on the field as Josh Madden begins to put on his uniform, and he might be that first sub for the Beacons in the second half.
El Hasnoui with it. And again, you talked about the fatigue on Saturday. The weather as hot as it was. Not as hot, obviously, tonight, but still could be something to make aware of, and Teixeira is not happy with the official. So he waves his hand in disgust and was taken down just outside the box, but no call.
Montero is stretching. I wonder if he'll be good to go as they have another player warming up as well for the Corsairs. They seem like a totally different team without Montero on the field. Not that he's gotten a ton of service. It's just he's such a talented player, and now the Beacons are going to kind of look the same because Nilton DeAndrade is going to take a break. Expect it to be a short one, but they're going to try to get him a little bit of rest with the amount of hard work he's put in, hoping that he might be able to provide them a spark against some tired defensive legs for the Corsairs late in this contest.
Nilton DeAndrade has been roughed up a little bit here in this one, as now we get another substitution set to come. Montero is going to come back on here momentarily for UMass Dartmouth. We'll see if they allow it. They will. So again, the question becomes, what is Montero able to provide for this unit? Again, we saw their best chance of the second half with him on the bench. Sajbin plays it here. He had that opportunity.
Well, remember, he waited late at home the other day against Plymouth State. All 3 of his goals in the final 25 minutes, including 2 in the final 15. The go-ahead goal, and then a big insurance goal. So he might have some legs left in him, but we've seen him come off early due to what looked like a wrist injury possibly, and now being attended to the trainer for what looked like a different injury. So certainly it's not been the easiest night for UMass Dartmouth's top offensive player.
Played back towards the middle. There's Madden getting his foot in, and now a foul called against UMass Boston. So UMass Dartmouth will get a free kick.
Yeah, Santos going right through the back of 6. Adonis Centeo there for UMass Dartmouth.
But the 20 fouls now that have racked up for UMass Dartmouth. And again, we mentioned the 8 saves as well. This one played in the box. Cochran almost got there. And now Teixeira just chests it down. It's finally cleared away out of danger as Fontana chases it down. Madden making a run. Fontana electing to go a little bit more of handling with it, and now it's turned over. Numbers the other way for UMass Dartmouth. Montero makes a move inside the 18. Left-footed shot goes just high, and they cannot believe it.
Beacons are so fortunate there. A lot of very poor defending. Teixeira gives up the ball at midfield. Santos makes a late kind of sloppy challenge at it. Barbosa forced to come out, a nice crossover, and then Campos a little slow. I mean, yes, you do have one of the best keepers in program history in net, but that should have been a goal there for UMass Dartmouth, as Jake Beverland can't take any chances. Nilton DeAndrade maybe had a sit for 2 minutes. He's back in for Madden because the Beacons just look like a totally different team. We see a no call where both teams were expecting a foul.
And now coming the other way quickly, though, are the Beacons. Far side shot that goes well wide. As Revan Rodriguez did not really test the keeper back there. And again, you talk about Montero in such a good position, in such a good spot, and he just missed the target. Did not even really test Castro-Dreher to try and make a save as well.
Well, he blasted it thinking that he needed to hit it hard to beat Castro-Dreher, but a little bit too much power and absolutely no precision. Put it, I think it might have gone through the uprights. It was rising that hard right down the middle of the goal.
This one sent towards the area of Montero, but headed away by UMass Dartmouth. Sajman now comes up with it. Lots of battling going on there as El Hasnoui tries to play it quickly forward. Long ball that's going to be chased down by DeAndrade. He's got it over on the far side. He's got the moves to get towards that middle of the 18. El Hasnoui gives it off. Now back to him. Plays it over on the far side. Lots of ball handling going on there, and now we'll get a foul.
Yeah, and there was contact, but is that a foul in a typical soccer game? I'm not sure.
But that's been the story of the night.
Yeah, and honestly, it's got to be frustrating for UMass Dartmouth because a lot of these, the calls where is it a foul, is it not a foul, that have gone the Beacons' way have all come kind of in a 25-yard circle around the 18-yard box.
And you would have guessed that I would say probably a good 14 to 15 of those have come in the offensive end for UMass Boston in a really good position.
Yeah, I mean, if the Beacons are going to score, I think there's a slightly higher probability to be off a free kick just because of how good the service has been. They've had very few free kicks where it's just been a total waste. They've been able to find heads or at least get shots that were quite close to being on target. They forced some good saves from Musavi.
So UMass Boston set to take the free kick. And can they test the keeper? This one is going to be stopped once again. Musavi again, this time DeAndrade.
The left fist just punching it out. That was a save where it looked like the reaction was a little bit late, but again, able to get to that. That ball looked like it was either going to be right inside the post and in or go square off of the post, and instead we've got yet another corner kick for UMass Boston.
Another opportunity set to come here for the Beacons. This one is sent very high towards Teixeira, but now it's cleared away quickly and sent back, and Castro-Dreher will head back there to make the play. Played back forward by UMass Boston as they just continue to work back in that defensive end. Savi, the sophomore out of New York. Throw in set to come here for the Beacons. But a guy who last season, the 2018-2019 season, he played in 5 games. 4 of those were starts. A 3.56 goals against average. He made 22 saves and also was 0-4 on the year. Usavi's still looking for his first win ever as a member of UMass Dartmouth. Again, a turnover here by UMass Boston. Now battle for it in the middle of the field, taken away here. As they look to work it up the field, slowly but surely. Sajbin now. Battle for, and a foul is going to be called on DeAndrade.
Play all started because Yuran Teixeira just held on to the ball for way too long. Had a wide open John Santos. Instead elected to play it backwards. I mean, I've heard of striker slumps in soccer where a player just can't find the goal, but it seems like Teixeira is just in a funk of his own.
And DeAndrade knocking it out of bounds with a good play there defensively. So the throw-in set to come here for UMass Dartmouth, and their offense looking to try and get things clicking. Here late in this one, about 15 minutes to go. So it's sent in towards the box, headed away. Sajbin's going to chase it down first. He has been all over the field in the second half for UMass Dartmouth. Good play defensively, though, by the Beacons. Even Rodriguez trying to hang on to it here. And he does with some fancy footwork just to keep it away. And now a free kick set to come here for UMass Boston. They take it quickly. Beacons working the other way. Cross midfield to the middle to Fontana. Fontana. It's around a couple of defenders. Plays it forward. Inside the box. Good defense that time on the back line from UMass Dartmouth. It goes down of bounds, but not allowing an opportunity to erupt for the Beacons.
Elijah, it feels like UMass Dartmouth is starting to turn the tide in this game, and I'm not quite sure if it's just the legs of UMass Boston or the fact that the Corsairs are being a little bit more aggressive, forcing some Beacons turnovers, kind of what they did in the first half when they were able to create their best chance of the game. Be very interesting because I don't think it's going to be a substitution change the Beacons are going to use, if they can make any kind of tactical change, because the longer this game goes, say we do go into overtime or even a second overtime, the more likely I think the Corsairs are to get a point, if not the full 3, because of those tired legs of the Beacons playing down a man here for, well, near 45 minutes at this point. We're almost at the 45-minute mark since the direct red to Gerardo Castaneda.
Sajbin comes off. Morales comes back on, and that is a change that we'll see if it pays dividends for UMass Dartmouth. So it's played over on the far side for Rodriguez. So he works up the field quickly. Again, everything just hasn't been as crisp for UMass Boston recently.
Yeah, just too much dribbling. I mean, honestly, Rodriguez needs to get the ball off his feet faster. But I think part of it is there's too much dribbling because guys aren't moving as much to get open. They're not communicating as well to get into good spaces. This is going to be a challenge right here to find the winner. For most of the first 75 minutes, it looked like UMass Boston was not only the better team, but was going to get that goal. I can't say that I'm as confident just watching the last 2 minutes of how the Beacons have started to what looks like fade a little bit.
So one played upfield and now knocked out of bounds. So we'll get another throw-in set to come here. This time from UMass Dartmouth, played over right towards the middle. And now Teixeira gets it on his foot. This time he makes the quick pass out wide, and Fontana trying to poke it around a UMass Dartmouth player, and that player went sprawling to the ground on a push in the back from Fontana.
Well, it was really good defending. Fontana made a veteran play to push it around, and then it was another nice play by a Corsairs defender just to get in front of him enough to force that contact and earn the free kick in their own defensive half.
Lucio Duprat was the one back there, another veteran, a senior, making that defensive play. Montero battling there with De Andrade. Play forward is too far for El Hasnoui.
I mean, El Hasnoui looks like he's got fresh legs despite playing a lot the last 2 games. Rodriguez should have fresher legs than Fontana or De Andrade, but it just wasn't a great service that time from Fontana. It was the right idea, the diagonal through ball, just a little bit too strong.
Campos now coming up the field. He plays to Fontana, and now De Andrade tried to play it forward for El Hasnoui, but it was knocked away. Good defense that time from UMass Dartmouth, and again a ball that kind of just missed on the service in. Teixeira with it. He tries to get inside the 18. I guess it was just kind of a cross in towards that middle part of the box, but nobody was there, and it goes out of play.
That is a great pass, and someone's got to be at the back post. Someone has to make that run for Teixeira, and Rodriguez put up his hand and said, I should have been there. But, I mean, that's a great job by a player to be unselfish. Instead of trying to look at a shot from a tight angle, there were 2 Beacons there, and neither made the run. And UMass Dartmouth didn't attack it either, so it went all the way through. I mean, that's a ball that it never should get through one way or another, and the Beacons kind of have to be kicking themselves that neither of their players made that run and potentially had a look from inside the 6-yard box.
Sajbin has come back in, so going more with an offensive lineup is Henry Almeida. Played back over on the far side. Scombs works it up. Rodriguez to the middle. Good ball in towards De Andrade, but too far. And now it's quickly worked out by UMass Dartmouth, but this one will be just cut down before it was heading out of bounds. This fast-moving turf, Sajbin worked around a couple of UMass Boston Beacons. Now plays that ball over on the far side, trying to be hunted down in the corner, and it will be. Gomes is there, he takes it away, and now the other way comes UMass Boston. Even Rodriguez tripped up and lost the ball. Opportunity for Morales, and he got it taken away. Now right back to him. He plays to Sajbin, and that one is knocked away off his foot. De Andrade with his speed has it coming up the field. Right in the middle of the field. Plays it towards El Hasnoui, but it was knocked away. And again, you sense for UMass Dartmouth, they were sensing what everyone in the crowd was saying, which is De Andrade with space.
Yeah, and that was a great job by Santos. Rather than to make the early outlet for Fontana, who would have had a contested play, waited for De Andrade, saw him out of the corner of his eye, and made the play. And then I think De Andrade made the right pass. It was just unfortunate that a Corsairs player got a toe on it, because otherwise it had a real shot to get to El Hasnoui at the top of the box.
Throw-in set to come here, as that one is taken away quickly. Fontana now works with it, finds Teixeira, looking for somebody to go to. Now finds El Hasnoui on a run. El Hasnoui at the top of the box, works into the box. El Hasnoui taken down in the box, and this is going to be a penalty kick.
Terrible defending by Lucio Duprat. Did not recognize the run from El Hasnoui, and then we've seen it all game long. You're not going to get it for a 50-50 call. That is as blatant a penalty kick as possible. He grabbed the front of the shirt and pulled him down like a football tackle, and that just shows the legs of El Hasnoui are still there, and it'll be Teixeira with a chance for his 8th penalty kick in 8 attempts. This is huge for UMass Boston to potentially take the lead in the final 10 minutes.
Teixeira will have an opportunity here. After the penalty, shot was awarded on the play by El Hasnoui. He waits the referee's whistle as Teixeira has it. Slows up now, shoots and scores, and UMass Boston is on the board. Down a man, it's 1-0.
And a just huge sigh of relief on the Beacon sideline. This has been such a difficult game. The early chances they couldn't convert, the red card to Gerardo Castaneda, and the fact that it felt like the tide was beginning to shift about 5 to 10 minutes ago. The Beacons, though, continued to push forward despite tired legs, and Al Hasnaoui just showing that energy was there, making a great run. And honestly, it was a great ball from Teixeira to find Al Hasnaoui. Teixeira certainly hasn't had his best game, but a great service for Al Hasnaoui right to the foot. And then a really poor job, of sensing the run, and then you can't use your hands to pull a guy down in the box. Even Boris Senic, who has let a lot go today in the box, had to give that one, and a really easy call for the referee, and a great finish from Teixeira, who has not missed from the penalty spot in his career.
And you saw El Hasnaoui just turn around completely. That's always a pretty clear sign that somebody was pulled down when their entire body contorts like that. But again, Teixeira able to deliver, and we've seen him struggle in the midfield today at times this year, but he finally comes up big. Now this one played to El Hasnaoui at the top of the 18. Makes another nice move. Finds Fontana. Fontana tries to float it in. Nobody there. Now on the far side, Rodriguez was chasing it down. A slide tackle to knock it away, and it's played up to Cochran before that one was knocked off his foot. But right now, UMass Boston in a very favorable position.
Yeah,
up 1-0 with about 8 minutes to go.
Problem is the Beacons were up 2-1 in a similar situation against Eastern the other day, down a man. It's all about defensive shape, and it's about making the smart plays. Beacons need to avoid giving up free kicks, and they have to be smart when they go forward.
DeAndrade going to try it from distance and well wide. Might have had the right idea. But again, just a little bit too ambitious, and you talk about making the right play. Maybe he takes that down in the corner, kills some time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. I think his momentum just kind of took that shot wide. The big thing right now, if you're UMass Boston, is you can't get bodies caught behind the play. So for DeAndrade, 1v3, 1v4 there, it's fine to take a shot because either way you're going to kill a little bit of clock, and you're not going to give UMass Dartmouth a counterattack.
This one played back towards the middle. UMass Boston sitting back, nobody really pressuring. As UMass Dartmouth tries to work it around here. Look for something offensively. And you go back to that chance for UMass Dartmouth in this half that Montero got. Played towards the 18-yard box and now cleared away by UMass Boston, knocked down. Fontana just sends it out of bounds. And the what-if surrounding that chance, but then you can go to the chances that UMass Boston had early in this game that just continued throughout. They continued to pressure. And now Sajbin going to try from distance, and he just ropes it high.
You can't give Sajbin and you can't give Montero any space here. In the final 6 minutes, you have to recognize those are the two players who can cause you the most damage. Have to get a body in front of that shot. Now, Fontana did a nice job of running towards him, but didn't close him down early enough. A good look there, just couldn't get it down. The other thing for UMass Boston is Madden coming off for Al Hasnaoui. Everyone's got to know their defensive assignments. Down a man, there's going to be an extra man for UMass Dartmouth pushing forward, and I think that there's a good chance UMass Dartmouth goes into a back three pushing guys forward. Everyone has to recognize exactly who they're responsible for on the defensive side.
And for as good as Musavi has played in this game, as DeAndrade has it go out of bounds, it'll be a throw in here for UMass Boston. But for as good as he's played, if this result holds, he'll still be searching for his first win ever in his collegiate career. In his now sixth start, 0-5 so far. Throw in comes here for UMass Boston. They just try to kill some clock and some time. Taken away. And lots of contact, and now this one will be another free kick opportunity for UMass Boston. Is now there's some pushing and shoving going on.
Well, the issue is DeAndrade goes down, and the Corsairs immediately try to get him up to stop the clock from ticking off anymore. But then the Beacons weren't happy because they were worried about their player safety, and also you don't want to pull a guy up. You want to help a guy up. So a little bit of angers and tempers. I mean, pretty typical soccer stuff. So the clock stops with 4:38 to go. This is an instance where I think the Beacons just feel so much more comfortable attacking that their best defense right now is the fact that their offense is keeping UMass Dartmouth pinned in, because typically you'd be focused on, hey, maybe we take the ball to the corner flag, but instead, especially DeAndrade has been focused on, all right, let's continue to attack and create something.
So a free kick opportunity coming once again.
And the Beacons are just telegraphing, this is a shot. With 3 guys in the box, we'll see if Fontana joins. I think you're going to see DeAndrade see if he can somehow spin this one over the wall or past the wall and through Musavi.
And if he does, that would be a huge blow to UMass Dartmouth. DeAndrade lines it up, and it's blocked by the wall. Played over on the far side. Campos just tries to send it back in, but DeAndrade was well off sides, and that's what the flag will go up for.
Offside, UMass Boston.
UMass Dartmouth has been trying to get Tiago De Carvalho on the field for a while. Haven't seen the sophomore from Quincy yet in this game, but maybe taking a defender off to add a midfielder.
Played towards the middle, knocked away. And now quickly taken once again here. So UMass Dartmouth works it in towards the 18. Montero flips it to Morales, who just tries to send it high in the air. Castro-Dreher punched it away. And now that one is played back into the 18-yard box and cleared away high into the air by UMass Boston, but a dangerous situation there with Castro-Dreher coming out. And now he'll make the stop and just fall onto the ball.
Yeah, typically when a goalie goes up and is obstructed, you hear the foul, but he actually got caught up by his own player. And then it felt like we were watching a little bit of pinball with the ball just bouncing around all over the place. Unfortunately for the Beacons, ending up in the hands of Castro-Dreher.
Headed away. Josh Madden there protesting. So now it comes near side. They try to play to Sajbin, who's got a lot of room. Continues to operate. Now finds the near side. This one sent in low towards the box. Cleared away. Again, you talked about it, Seth, not giving Sajbin a lot of real estate, and he's got more here. Played to Montero. Montero, long shot with the left foot, and it goes wide. We're seeing the skill set that Junior Montero possesses. That was going to be a tough opportunity, and he made it look like it had a chance.
Yeah, Madden struggling in his role of kind of taking the space away from that UMass Dartmouth midfield, and he comes off after only a couple minutes. Al Hostin, we back out on the wide. I mean, that's literally, if Jake Beverland could sit his team down after they took the lead, the 2 things he would say is, don't give Sajbin space and don't allow Montero to turn. And both of those things just happened for UMass Boston. They need to play smarter. It's great you got the goal, but it doesn't matter if you concede one right back. And that was the issue the other day, an emotional comeback to take a 2-1 lead before giving up too late. This team needs to learn how to finish a little bit better.
About 2 minutes to go here in this one, just past the 2.5-minute mark. And again, UMass Dartmouth still with some pressure being applied. Cochran has it at his foot. Had it taken away. Good defense that time from UMass Boston as they continue to push back. Only goal in this game came off a penalty kick from Teixeira. About 2 minutes to go now. It's played towards the middle. Revan Rodriguez on his foot, lost it, battle for it, and now Montero called for the foul, quickly taken. And DeAndrade going to take this one down towards the 18. Plays it back up top. Played to the near side, Campos. Campos going to try to send it in over on the far post and punched away that time by Musavi.
Beacon's team does not know how to take the ball to the corner flag, and it's frustrating up here, but again, they're killing time in their own way. They're just doing it in the non-traditional way.
Musavi, instead of grabbing it, again, you think if he had an opportunity to grab that ball out of the air, could have went the other way for UMass Dartmouth and been a little bit tougher of a situation. Now the clock starts again with 1:10 to go.
And now we'll see if the Beacons take it to the corner flag.
Throw in set to come once again for UMass Boston.
1 minute remaining. 1 minute.
Just about a minute to go. UMass Boston trying to extend their win streak here against UMass Dartmouth. As this one is taken away, but quickly cleared back by the Beacons.
Beacons catch a break there. Fontana ran right into, I think it was Gomes. Fortunately, there was a third Beacon there to win the ball. Otherwise, the Corsairs would have had a chance to go down the field with only 8 Beacons playing defense.
This one is sent high into the box, headed in the box. Campos is there, and now it's finally tapped away, but not out of trouble. And this is going to be a throw-in, though, for UMass Boston with just under 20 to go, as Campos gets set to fire it in. 10 seconds left now.
10,
Headed away.
9, 8, 7,
El Hasnoui there. So is DeAndrade, and a foul is called with 3 seconds to go, and that is going to do it. UMass Boston comes away victorious here in the rivalry matchup with UMass Dartmouth, but not without some obstacles. They win at 1-0.
Yeah, this was not how Jake Beverland would have drawn it up.
this evening's
Going down a man, not being able to score until the final 10 minutes, giving up some better chances to some of the better players for UMass Dartmouth than you would like. But in the end, the Beacons do what they needed to do. They get 3 points. They go to 2-1 in conference, avoid a losing streak here at home, and they give themselves a chance to stick with the top teams in the Little East Conference, depending on what happens in those other games. Certainly one that you're going to want to forget a little bit if you're UMass Boston, but Yasser El Hasnoui had a huge game, and on the other side, huge props to the combination of Omar Castro-Dreher and Emelson Barbosa doing a great job of keeping the clean sheet. Emelson Barbosa really anchored a back line that struggled early, and Omar Castro-Dreher forced to make a couple of really nice saves in this game.
Omar Castro-Dreher, another terrific performance for UMass Boston in net. But Seth, when you look at this game as a whole, for UMass Boston, again, with mistakes and miscues, still able to come out on top, but now the question becomes, how do you limit those mistakes and miscues?
Well, I think part of it is getting some players on the field. I mean, Leo Herrera has been so solid this year as an outside back. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. Guy Barbosa is one of your top players overall, and he's an anchor in the midfield. He misses his first game of the season today. That didn't help. Hopefully he's back for Saturday. This was a quick turnaround. I mean, those guys are going to help a lot, but it's also just it's a mental thing. I mean, the red card today was an issue of just a little frustration brewing, and then the Beacon retaliated, and it caused the Beacons to play down a man. Back-to-back games where you're down a man because of a mental mistake, that's the first place you got to fix it. Forget some of the other mistakes. Everything looks worse when you're down a man, and you can't afford to make a mistake, and you're still making some of those miscues that can really look a lot worse when you're playing 10v11 instead of the normal 11v11 and have an extra man to cover for you.
We talk about Nilton DeAndrade and what he's done so far this year, but how about El Hasnoui, the way he played offensively for UMass Boston? You take a look at the final numbers here from this game, but for UMass Boston, you got to say he drew the penalty or late in this game, rather, and really had the motor that just never stopped for this team.
I felt like DeAndrade really carried the offense for a while, and Fontana had some nice moments, but it looked like El Hasnoui was the guy at the end who had the legs, and the legs proved to be the difference. You see the final totals, it looks as if the Corsairs were the team down a man. UMass Boston heavily outshooting UMass Dartmouth in the second half, 10-3, and that doesn't include, in terms of shots on goal, doesn't include the 2 shots that went off the bar and 2 more that went just wide and into the side netting. So the Beacons had some really good chances, and give Chris Musavi a lot of credit. 9 more saves today, falls to 0-2, but in 2 starts this year, he's made 20 saves and given up 3 goals. He played extremely well. It just wasn't enough. No one thus far has been able to stop a Yuran Teixeira penalty kick, and he's now 8 for 8 on his career.
Unbelievable for UMass Boston. They come away victorious. We take a look at what they have upcoming here through these next couple of games, and Seth, there are some conference games mixed in, but really 2 conference games. When you look at Plymouth State and Southern Maine, those are 2 games that you think ideally with the way things are going, you got to have those.
Should be winnable. Obviously, you're going to have to minimize the mistakes. getting a couple early goals. Maybe you can get some of those players. The biggest thing is getting healthy and being a little bit smarter mentally, but those should be winnable games. But, yeah, I mean, every game in this conference, UMass Dartmouth proved it today. Even if you're at home, if you're not able to capitalize on your chances, you're not able to play smart, it can cause some problems. So give the Beacons credit for overcoming some of those mental mistakes, and UMass Dartmouth credit for not conceding for as long as they did. I mean, they were able to face a lot of pressure today, and Musabi did a great job of keeping this game scoreless into the final 10 minutes.
So the UMass Boston Beacons, they moved to 7-2-1 on the year and 2-1 in Little East Conference play. UMass Dartmouth falling to 5-4 and 1-2 in Little East Conference play. Well, that'll do it for our broadcast here from James Connerfield. Once again, our final score. The UMass Boston Beacons, they win it 1-0 over top of UMass Dartmouth. For our entire broadcast,